When I saw my left leg is behaving funny, I knew it could be fatal. Or you could lose your voice, or you could lose your vision. The central median between the two lobes had moved 8 millimeters off. 12 is fatal. Doctor said, this is crazy. Shall I do this, shall I do that? I said, doctor, I've crossed all lines. Do whatever you want. Northern part of India, there was a yogi. He was committed to one aspect of Shiva, which was called Alak Niranjan. He went from home to home because this was the nature of spiritual people, and the culture and the civilization was so friendly to spiritual seekers. When they see a sannyasi or a mendicant who has dedicated his life to his spiritual process, others always made sure that they ate, because they are not earning their own living, they don't have a home of their own, they've made the world their home. So when a sannyasi or a mendicant came in front of the house, nobody said no. So he was going from home to home, Alak Niranjan, Alak Niranjan. One day he came and stood in front of a wealthy home and said, Alak Niranjan. The lady of the house doesn't want to come out by herself. She sent the maid in the house to give him some grain so that he can eat. But she stood behind the door and looked at him. He was a young sadhu with big bright eyes, and she was drawn to him. Next day when he came and said, Alak Niranjan, she herself came to give the alms, and she looked at his eyes and she fell into them. Then she went inside the house and felt ashamed. She's a married woman, and what am I doing? But his eyes occupied her completely. Next day when he came with the alms, she ran to the door. She looked at his eyes, she gave him the alms and said, I am completely taken by your eyes. I can fall into them and disappear. Actually, I have already. He said, Alak Niranjan, and left. Next day he came again. He said, Alak Niranjan. She came to the door. So he had a plate and he said, yesterday you said you love my eyes. Here I have brought them. He had plucked his eyeballs out. And placed it in her hands and said, Alak Niranjan, and walked away. He is willing to become blind so that her inner eyes open up.
Sadhguru's recent episode of ill health stirred concerns among his followers and admirers. Here's one such heartfelt message from a follower. Please understand that Sadhguru's life is no joke. He is toiling so hard every day just to make mere mortals like us realize something more than what we have not tasted. The news of his recovery brought immense joy, and currently he is in Bali for a 10-day event. Throughout his life, Sadhguru has willingly risked his well-being for others, be it during the Dhyanalinga consecration or his daring 30,000 kilometers motorcycle journey for the soil conservation. Now let's hear Sadhguru recount his recent health journey before exploring some of his most remarkable feats when he risked his life for us mortals.
Well, there's a big question right now in many people's minds. And the doctor who treated me repeatedly asked me, Sadhguru, why are you doing this? I started having excruciating pain 6 weeks before the surgery. And I know that I have neurological issue. I thought somehow I'll finish my schedule, a few things to do. Mahashivratri, I kept 1 month in United States, except for one darshan, I had a free 1 month. I thought I'll fix myself. But all this activity, Mahashivratri, first bleed happened 6 weeks ago. Mahashivratri gave a second bleed. Then I went to Chennai and back, and then went to Delhi. 15th evening, I had a commitment. The doctor did an MRI and he said, no way you can do this. Then I said, it's a private event, I will do it. He said, okay. But the next day's event, 16th event is a public event, you cannot do this. Because the central median between the two lobes had moved 8 millimeters off. 12 is fatal. I said, no, I have to do it. So I did that event. It was a 45-minute event. By the end of 45 minutes, my left leg was beginning to act funny. So I came out and had an MRI. So it said it's moved 11.5 millimeters. Doctor said, this is crazy. Shall I do this, shall I do that? I said, doctor, I've crossed all lines. Do whatever you want. I went straight in and they did a surgery. And here I am. Day before yesterday, he called me and asked many questions about my faculties and cognition. I said, everything is okay. He said, this is extraordinary. This is a recovery in a matter of 4 weeks.
Dhyanalinga consecration was one such time when he had almost lost his life simply because he wanted to give people a place of meditation. He says, Dhyanalinga is not a place of worship. It is a place of meditation. Meditation is not an act. It is not something that you do. It is something that you become. Meditation will not happen because you make an effort. If you cultivate the body, mind and emotion and energies to a certain point of maturity, you will naturally become meditative. This was just after the Dhyanalinga consecration. Sadhguru was completely incapacitated, unable to sit or move. His speech had vanished for what felt like an eternity. He was living in the shrine. There was nowhere else he could go, not even to his bedroom. At that time, people slowly tended to him, helping him regain his footing, his strength, his energy body depleted by nearly 65 to 70%, which struggled to sustain him. It was a conscious decision born out of necessity. External situations were spiraling out of control, leaving no time for anything else. Yet, despite the doubts and dire predictions, he persevered. The journey back to health was grueling, but he was not alone. Many stood by his side, offering support in ways that words cannot express. Recreating his body felt like rebuilding it from scratch. The effort to reclaim his health was immense, prompting questions about its worth. Yet, the presence of those who mattered most fueled his determination. And now, here he stands, a testament to resilience and the power of perseverance. This was repeated when he travelled 30,000 kilometers on his motorbike, this time to save soil and to save the future generations. He was on his motorbike for continuous 100 days and faced several challenges on the way. He had crossed the deserts also on the bike, and when he was on the cruise ship from Oman to Jamnagar, he started coughing. When he spat it out, balls of sand and mud were seen in his phlegm, which was obviously stuck in his lungs due to such extensive road travel.
Seeing him cough up these, balls of mud, I don't know, has something happened to his lungs? Is it, is it like a serious thing? Do we need to get a doctor to look at his lungs? Like, what is the situation? I don't even know. All I know is he's coughing, he's losing his voice, he's not able to speak for more than a few minutes at a time. And even when he speaks kind of softly.
From 3 decades now, Sadhguru has been continuously bringing the importance of soil and the alarming threat of soil extinction into spotlight. He has said repeatedly at several international platforms, soil is our life, our very body, and if we forsake soil in many ways, we forsake the planet.